Hi, I'm Andrea from Girl Grey Beauty. I often post photos of myself on Instagram like these, and I get a lot of comments about the condition of my skin. People say that it looks perfect, or it looks flawless, or that they wish they had my skin. And while, of course, I appreciate all of these amazing comments, I believe in honesty and transparency, and I wanted to let people know that my skin is definitely not perfect or flawless. So that's why I posted this photo on Instagram. This is my skin in the worst condition it's been in a really long time. I have a disease called endometriosis, and it causes hormonal acne. But this photo has resulted in a lot of comments of people requesting an acne coverage tutorial, and so that's what I wanted to do for you today. I'm going to show you what I do to cover my acne, and I have one tip in particular that I learned about 5 years ago from a friend, and it's interesting because it actually breaks a common beauty rule, but it really works for me, and I hope it works for you as well. Okay, so the first step I'm going to do is prime my face for foundation, and I'm using the Marc Jacobs coconut primer. And the reason I'm going to use that, I'm just going to apply with clean fingers. The reason I'm using that one is because it's quite moisturizing, and I find that I don't have too much trouble with a lot of oil, but my skin gets really dry, especially around like where my blemishes are. So a moisturizing primer is good for that, and I really like that primer. And also, right now I'm on prescription benzoyl peroxide, which is also really drying out my skin. So I kind of need that extra moisture before I put my foundation on. So the next step is foundation, and I'm going to be using Too Faced Born This Way foundation. And your automatic instinct might be to use like a lot of foundation to try to cover up all your acne, but I try to use the smallest amount possible and then add coverage with concealer. So I try to use about a half a pump of foundation to about 1 pump. So I'm just doing that, and I put that on the back of my hand, and I'm using the Sigma round kabuki brush, and I'm just gonna start dotting that all over where I need the most coverage. Okay, so after covering my whole face, I still have quite a bit of foundation left over. So I'm just gonna take what's left and go over the spots that still need more help. I'm just kind of patting that in so I don't wipe it away too much. Okay, so before I move on to concealing my blemishes, I'm just gonna conceal my under eyes. So I'm just going to use the MAC Pro Conceal palette and just this salmon colored concealer or corrector right here, just on my under eyes. And then for concealer, I'll use the Naked Skin by Urban Decay. And I use that on my eyelids as well. Okay, now I'm just gonna set that with the Anastasia contour kit. Sorry, this is really well loved. It's kind of dirty. Okay, now I can move on to covering my blemishes. So I'm going to use this same palette again that I used before, and use one of the concealer shades, the lightest one here. This one here. And a small brush. This is from the brand 13 Rushes. And just going to take some on the brush and then start pinpoint concealing all over my face. Now that I look like a crazy person, I'm going to take a small, well, it's kind of small. It's almost like a little mini buffing brush. This is by Zoeva. It's called the Concealer Buffer. So I'm just going to use that and start to blend in all those spots of concealer that I just put down. And basically I just pat, just like how I did my foundation, so that we don't wipe away everything. We're just kind of patting it into the skin. Okay, so at this point, I'm just going to powder my face. And now everything, of course, isn't completely covered up, but that's okay. So this is where that tip comes in that my friend told me about 5 years ago. But I'm just going to powder really, really lightly, a thin layer all over my face. Okay, so at this point, I've done primer, foundation, concealer, and powder, but I'm gonna go back in and conceal those spots that are still showing through again. And that was the tip that my friend told me. She said, you know, there's nothing wrong with concealer or even foundation over top of powder, which is kind of a rule that we always hear. You can't put liquids over powder, but in some cases it does actually work, because I find that when you have really stubborn spots, your foundation or concealer, whatever, won't stick to those spots. So they won't stick until after you powder, and then you can actually cover them up. So I'm just going to do that with that same brush and that same concealer that I used before. I'm going back over these spots that we already concealed. Some of them are covered up fine, but some of them are still coming through. So now, taking that same concealer buffing brush and the powder that I used before, I'm going to take some of that powder on the brush and use that to set these spots here. Okay, so that's looking pretty good. Just keep in mind, it's never going to be perfect, and that's okay. It doesn't matter. And if there's still, even at this point, if there's still a spot that's like coming through after you've powdered it again, that's fine to go in with the concealer again and do the powder again. There's nothing wrong with that. Okay, so what I'm going to do now is just really quickly fill in my eyebrows. I'm just using the Sigma Brow Powder Duo in medium and the Anastasia number 12 brush, which is the best. Okay, so that's the acne coverage part. I thought I would just show you bronzer, blush, a little bit of contour, highlight, that kind of thing, just for the sake of the video. So what I'm going to use first, just to warm up my complexion, is the MAC Medium Dark Mineralized Skin Finish. This is actually just a face powder, but I got a couple shades darker to use as a bronzer. Okay, so for contour, I'm going to use that same Anastasia contour kit and the middle shade, which is called Fawn, and the Zoeva Defined Buffer Brush. And just add a bit of definition to right under my cheekbones. And under my jaw, and a little bit on my forehead here. Now for highlight, I'm going to use the new BECCA Jaclyn Hill Champagne Glow Palette. And I haven't used this before, so I have to. And I think I'm going to use the middle shade Champagne Pop. And the brush I'm going to use is the Anastasia Beverly Hills A23 highlighting brush. Okay. That's awesome. Now, if you have acne in certain areas, like say if you had acne all right here, you might want to avoid highlighting those areas because it'll really bring out the texture in the skin there. Luckily, I don't have too much. I mean, I do get some right up here, so I kind of just avoid that area a bit. Now, for blush, I'm going to use the Morphe 9B blush palette, which is like that, and I think I'm going to use the shade right in the middle there. And where is my blush brush? Oh, here it is. The Sigma Duo Fiber F50. So I'm just going to use that. I like this brush because well, any duo fiber brush like this for blush because it keeps you from going too crazy with blush. Okay, so that's basically it. That's my acne coverage routine. I hope that something in there can help you. I know a lot of it's really basic and common sense and standard, but hopefully there's some tip in there that will help you out. So thank you so much for watching.